Hello, and welcome to a very special Labor Day edition of the Penny Lane Podcast. On this episode, we have one of Justin's IRL friends, Ford, break down crypto for us. We get into the history of the blockchain, Bitcoin. We talk about the ideas behind crypto, what it means for the future of currency. You know, a lot of things got a little over my head, but I hung pretty tough. If you want to really nerd out on crypto, this is the episode for you. Let's get into it. Hi. We have a very special episode today. Justin, you want to tell us why?
I would love to. We have one of my oldest friends since I've been an adult. And nobody's going to know him because he's not on online message boards or chats, and I guarantee he's never listened to a single episode of the Penny Lane Podcast. So I have known this gentleman for a very long time. In fact, we owned a business together.
Ooh.
And it was not a trading business. And we actually used to joke, we own this business. We could stick our money in the stock market, but we're not stock market people. And then here we are talking about trading stocks. Now we're going to talk about a crypto market, not the same as stocks. His name is Ford, and he's going to explain to us why he is such an accredited individual when it comes to talking about crypto. Hey, Ford.
I appreciate that.
Hey, Ford.
How you guys
Welcome.
doing? I appreciate the introduction. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Why do you know anything about crypto? You don't.
I know nothing. I know next to nothing about crypto, but I was invited onto this podcast because I am a graduate student. I am studying computer science, and I took a advanced cryptography course, which focused mainly on the mathematical principles underpinning cryptographic primitives and structures and how they're implemented in the web, in other places. But the last unit we covered was blockchain, specifically Bitcoin. And so I had said I'd be happy to share what little I know about it. And so, yeah, I'm here. So for anybody listening, if you want to fact check me, I'll probably misspeak a lot. And as I said, this is from a single graduate class, and it was very, very math heavy. So some of the more business type things I could definitely get wrong, but I'm happy to share what little I know about the subject.
Blaine, what do you want to learn from Ford, if anything at all?
I think I'm not the right person to be asking the questions because I don't know much about crypto. Like, I day trade and swing trade, I guess, some crypto, but I just treat it like a stock, like same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just trading the chart or Catalyst or whatever.
Got it.
One thing that is very confusing to me is the mining of crypto. That's something that really kind of blows my mind. I'd love to maybe go into that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I can explain that really quick. We can go one level up if you want for a more basic description. But really, yeah. So, yeah, the purpose of mining actually kind of goes into how a blockchain actually works. So the idea behind any blockchain, we can use Bitcoin as an example because it's the one that most people know, is there's a document of some sort that contains information. So we'll just say the very start of the blockchain for Bitcoin was Justin Garton has $1. That information is then encrypted using a hashing algorithm for Bitcoin. I believe it's SHA-256. It doesn't really matter. It's just an algorithm, and what it does is it takes a large amount of data and it compresses it to a smaller number. And what people are trying to do when they're mining is when you hash a value of any sort, you're trying the nice part about the hash is that it's really easy to compute, but it's very difficult to invert, which means you can basically take what looks like a completely random length of numbers and letters, and you can perform some kind of transformation on it to get the original value back out. So on the blockchain, the little document that says Justin Garton has $1 is just a completely mindless looking string of symbols. But if I had the correct key in order to invert the function, I could get back out the raw information. So what people who are mining are doing is they're trying to find this key. They're searching for it, and they iterate billions and billions of times. That's part of the reason why the power consumption is so high, is there's a lot of computers trying to do this. But basically, when they find a value that ends in a certain number of zeros, it's like very, very difficult to find. When they do that, they're rewarded with some amount of coin. So it's basically a carrot, if you will, to incentivize these people to try and like revert this function. So that is what the mining is doing, and it's like a verification mechanism. So if you find like this magic value, which you can only do by randomly searching, so the way they implement these things is there's no like easy way to come up with it. The only way is like brute force it, like randomly guess values. If you are able to come up with it, you're rewarded. It's statistically very unlikely. And so they give you your 1 Bitcoin, and that's like your incentive to keep doing it, because that 1 Bitcoin is worth something. So that's why people mine.
And I have an immediate question.
Okay, shoot.
1, holy shit, was that a lot of information in 10 seconds? 2,
sorry.
I just saw an article the other day about a 14-year-old and a 9-year-old that are now making $30,000 a month mining for Bitcoin. How does a 14-year-old do anything that you just described?
Well, I mean, you just like need to write an algorithm that is like continually iterating, trying to find this this key, if you will. Theoretically, like anybody can do it. You can do it with your laptop. We won't get into the mathematics behind it, but there is the way they design these hashing algorithms is even if you owned a certain percentage of all the compute resources on planet Earth, you still would have like a negligible probability in like recovering the key any easier than somebody else. So this is like what makes the mining fair. Basically, it's kind of the idea of like if you played the lottery and you bought 20,000 lotto tickets, can you hear me?
Yeah, but isn't that the same thing?
No. So, well, the reason why it works is that, anybody can do the mining, right? So like if I bought 20,000 lotto tickets, my probability is negligible in still winning the lottery because the base odds are so low. Same thing with the mining. So even if I had like 30% of all compute resources on planet Earth, my probability is marginally improved to actually find it. So anybody can mine. So you can just do it with your laptop. You can let it run all day. I mean, I don't know enough about what the 14 and the 9-year-old are doing in order to like be guaranteeing success, but I mean, that's kind of why like anybody can do it technically.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
Are you mining for altcoins and shit coins, or are those just like you just buy those? They're already in the open market.
So any blockchain technology that like relies on this hashing scheme has like a mining underpinning, which is just like the verification process. So they have people who are like looking for this key so that when they hash it, it creates like a certain value with these number of zeros ending in it, right? So like the hash key H89 ends in 20 zeros. Like they're looking for that. They're looking for this magic value that when they hash it with the existing blockchain gives them this ending value. That's how like any blockchain is verified and extended. So any altcoin whose technology underpinnings is blockchains, like Bitcoin, has a specific implementation of a blockchain that like underpins it, right? So any of these coins, if they are using blockchain as the technology resource abstraction, if you will, they will have like some kind of mining mechanism. And the purpose of the mining mechanism, like I said, is you want people, in order to get like people actively involved in it, you want to give them that carrot to say, you should be trying to find this value for us. And so typically that they reward them, right, with the coin because the coin is worth something. It could be anything, right? They could give like sheep instead, and people want sheep, they'll mine. But typically it's like easier to give somebody a fake digital coin. And so that's their incentive for mining.
I have to check in on Blaine. Blaine?
Yep. I think I have something to say. What about mining for coins being the new growing weed? Have you guys heard this?
I don't know that term.
Well, so they've been like, there's factories all over the place that are like using up tons of energy, and they think something illegal is going on there. And the police are like, oh, this is a grow house. And then they'll like bust in, and they're just mining for.
They're mining Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys want to get into this topic, but that is another. I have a host of reasons why I'm not a believer in Bitcoin.
Let's hear those.
But that you want to hear those?
Yeah.
Well, we can start with the energy consumption issue.
Okay.
So, as the blockchain continues to grow, the amount of data that needs to be compressed grows as well. So the size is constantly growing. And there's no way to shrink the size because that completely undermines the entire purpose of the blockchain. So again, like to maybe take things at like a 30,000 foot level, the idea of a blockchain is that it's a distributed, decentralized ledger that anybody conceivably has public access to, and they can look on the information contained on it and verify whatever they want. So that's the exciting part of the technology, is it removes the need of a middleman to be the verification third party between two people trying to do anything. So, and that's all fine and good, and that's great. But if you start removing the earlier parts of the blockchain, you kind of get rid of this public record. That's the big advantage for it. And then you get into like these non-technical questions, which are, at what point is it right to eliminate the beginning part of the blockchain? How much history do we keep? There's no easy answer to that. So the default answer is we keep everything, obviously. But that means the size of the data continues to grow. And as that happens, it becomes more and more difficult to mine to find this value that when you hash with the existing value of the blockchain, you get this unique key that you're looking for. So the energy consumption will continue to grow. There's a possibility that like unbelievable improvement in certain compute resources could obviously reduce the energy footprint of this. In my opinion, that's very unlikely. Again, I'm like by no means an expert. I know a little bit about quantum computing, again, just because of the field that I'm in as a graduate student. I know that it's not at all scalable. It's not even beyond research institutions in any way. And we won't even get into that. But yeah, I mean, we just don't have the compute resources to make the energy consumption way, way less. Obviously, as everybody knows, like huge amounts of renewable energy are not available to humankind right now. So we're going to continue to burn a bunch of dead dinosaurs in order to, to fund this, right? So that's a big issue. And then, the other issues behind Bitcoin that I have is, and we can talk about this a little bit too, if you want, is the time to clear transaction is very long. So I personally don't believe Bitcoin will be ubiquitous, meaning I don't believe I can go down to the corner store and buy Coke with a Bitcoin. Because right now, the average time to clear a transaction on Bitcoin's blockchain is about an hour. What that would mean is that I'd have to wait an hour at the store to get my Coke. And obviously, nobody would ever do that. That time really can't be reduced in any way. And again, this is just like the way the blockchain's been implemented. It's like the way it works. The cryptographic security behind it means, again, that it's like very difficult to find these values, which makes verifying transactions very difficult. And there's just really no way to speed that process up. So if I can't buy something really quick, I have a hard time believing that Bitcoin will replace $1.
Question.
Go ahead.
What about these crypto ATMs, like the Bitcoin ATMs? There's no way someone I think we have them in the US now somewhere, but they obviously popped up in Asia first. If somebody walks up to one of those ATMs, there's no chance some guy is going to sit there for an hour until his money spits out.
Well, I haven't heard about these ATMs. Is the idea that you can convert the Bitcoin in your digital wallet to cash immediately?
Really wish you hadn't asked me that follow-up question, because I think part of it could be more of a depository.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you're converting crypto into fiat spendable money. I don't know the answer to that yet. And of course, that's the first thing you ask, you bitch.
Right. So yeah, that's kind of the idea. So like theoretically, if Bitcoin was ubiquitous, the digital wallet, I can get into it from my phone, right? So just like Apple Pay, I could pull up this Bitcoin. I could use some kind of swipe mechanism from the phone, just like an RFID tag, that would send the transaction to the blockchain to be verified. But that's the thing, right? Like I can't bring my phone with we have all the tools there to make it like a seamless thing. But at the end of the day, that transaction won't clear. And that's the benefit of a credit card company right now. They take on a ton of risk because they basically front the transaction for you. And then they assume, and they have a lot of ways to measure your risk, They basically assume if they give you a credit card, like you're going to be good for it up to some amount of money. And
some of us,
right, some of us, maybe some of us not. But
so I have one question though for Blaine.
Yeah,
when you're trading crypto,
yeah,
what's your settlement time on that? Is that a usual like T+1 day, like if you were trading a stock and it has to settle in your cash account? Or does that, like, are you trading in and out of Doge when you were like continuously, or do you know anything about like whether or not it would take an hour for you to have that whatever currency back in your wallet?
I did it on a margin account, so the cash settled instantly.
Right.
But it must be a like she's good for it type thing. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I was wondering if that was the same occurrence with trading as it is like if you were to transact with it. So, but Ford, what about the advantage of cross-border multinational currency exchange, right? 1 hour is pretty, like, it's all relative. 1 hour is pretty damn good if you're sending money for multinationally. Like, yeah, the gas station's not great, but cross-border that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously like one of the big selling points. That's what the people kind of like betting on Bitcoin believe, is that it's going to, I like to use this term ubiquitous. What that really just means is like widely available and generally usable. So there's people betting that we can use Bitcoin to replace cross-country national currencies, because if we get a bunch of different people in different countries that kind of all agree this weird, random, ephemeral digital coin is worth something to us, then it doesn't matter if I have rubles. It doesn't matter if I have US dollars or Canadian dollars. Like, it's all good.
Ephemeral
that kind of brings me to
like probably my favorite word. Big fan.
Ephemeral? Yeah.
Real big.
That's a very popular computer science term.
And he just taught us the word ubiquitous. So not only are we stupid when it comes to trading, Blaine, apparently we need vocabulary lessons. So thanks for it. Keep going. So, all right,
there's lots of buzzwords in the tech space that people like to throw around. So.
Yeah. Well, Blaine can educate you on all the trading lingo.
I know none
candies, of that. LFG, that's a big one.
LFG. Is that not something that's used in society?
It is.
Okay.
It is. Ford, that's just you. Let's fucking go. That's all it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just you being old. All right. So I'm
out of the game.
What's the third reason that you don't believe in Bitcoin? Or crypto, sorry.
Crypto, sure. We talked a little bit about this on the pre-show, but a big reason. I mean, this is particular to the United States. This is happens in other countries too, but the U.S. government technically controls all currency printing and manipulation. I'm not like a legal expert. I don't know if that's like a constitutional thing or like where exactly that sits in our law system. But what I do know for a fact, it is legal. This is like probably a Waco, Texas thing. You don't want your random cult leaders being able to create currencies and then use them to buy things, right? Buy people, buy animals, whatever. So the U.S. government can technically pull the plug on any cryptocurrency for any reason that they want, because they control all currency. And we've seen this in China. So China was able to just like haphazardly, randomly clamp down on Bitcoin, just say like, nope, that's not a thing in our country anymore. If you try to use it, you're going to jail, because it's our right to create currencies and control them. So you just can't make, Blaine's currency and go try to buy stuff. That's illegal. So that's not happening right now in the United States. You're allowed to buy Bitcoin. You're allowed to own it. You're allowed to buy stuff with it. But theoretically, at any point in time, the U.S. government could just randomly say this is no longer legal. And for those people who own 10, 20, 30, 40 Bitcoins worth $40,000 a coin, their $1 million holdings just got eliminated. And that's, for me anyway, that's a massive existential risk. That's why I would never put any significant amount of my own financial holdings in a digital currency, because just the idea that the government could eliminate your wealth at a whim is pretty terrifying. Will they do it? No. I'm sure there's lobby pressure and all kinds of things. But the fact that they exert that kind of control over this asset should, I don't know, for me anyway, I find that too disturbing. So
but theoretically, to access and use your crypto and your crypto wallet, you just need the internet. And through a VPN, a virtual private network routed through somewhere in a territory that is not controlled by the US government, can't you still just use it no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, you could use your Bitcoin to try to buy stuff outside the United States. We've obviously seen how that went for sites like Silk Road. Like a lot of people in trouble. People seem to think that their digital wallets are unhackable. That's obviously not true. We've seen many hacking instances of people's Bitcoin. People also seem to think that you can use it for criminal activity and it's untraceable. That's also very much not true. I think this is like probably on the news the last month or two. I think the FBI was able to track down like $49 million worth of Bitcoin transactions related to criminal activity. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that it's like this weird digital currency and technically like your name on the blockchain is hashed and someone doesn't actually know it's Justin Garton, they have to like uncover it first kind of thing, makes people think that like everything's super secure and there's like no way to trace it, but that's just simply not the case.
So let's chit chat about that real quick. So I don't know if your studies would allow you to answer this question. How does the government track down $49 million of cryptocurrency? That isn't that in itself like the thing that should worry the most amount of people?
Probably. To be perfectly honest, I don't know. My guess is they probably have similar access rights like they do to contact a financial institution and pull banking records and get subpoenas and get whatever other information they need when they're investigating people. So my guess is that there's these different companies, right, that provide these digital wallet services. My guess is that company got subpoenaed. They were forced to turn over their like client database or client records. And then from there, once you have access to someone's wallet, you can see what they were putting onto the blockchain and buying. Because again, that's all like public knowledge on the blockchain. So I don't know enough about that to really speak intelligently to it, but that would be my guess is that just like the government can get really whatever information they want on you today, if they want to find out what you've been buying with Bitcoin, I'm sure they can use the channels they have available to them to figure that out.
So we did talk about like reliability, adoptability, but I want to ask a question on Blaine's behalf.
Okay.
What, in your opinion, is the value of the altcoins or the shit coins? Not to name any names, but Doge.
Yeah. So this is probably like, I think we've probably covered 3 reasons why I don't believe in Bitcoin. This is reason number 4. So, I mean, this is more like an economic discussion than anything. It's like out of my wheelhouse. I haven't really studied this stuff, but it kind of gets down to the theory of what makes any currency valuable. So the reason why the US dollar is worth anything is the United States government essentially guarantees it. So if you want to go buy something with $1, the United States government says this dollar's worth something. It used to be backed by a physical asset. So it used to be gold. X amount of these paper things we gave you are worth X amount of gold or Y amount of gold. And so theoretically, you could take your paper dollars and go to your local government branch and get all the gold you want. And that's the government saying this is worth something that people value. Obviously, that's no longer the case now. But basically, the government just says, like, we're good for it. So that's kind of like what gives the US dollar its value. With these digital coins, what gives them their value is, again, like just like a general economic theory thing, is people have to agree they have value. So, you have to be willing, and this is just free marketplaces, right? You need to be willing to go out there and say, I'll give you $10 of my American money for one of these digital coins. And that's any coin. So like, why are you able to get any money for it? It's just because the marketplace sets the values. As you guys have seen, I don't trade any of the digital currencies. It sounds like Blaine does. They're quite volatile, some more than others. That is particularly concerning, right? So Bitcoin can go anywhere from $80,000 down to $10,000, and it can happen in a matter of days. It can happen when Elon Musk says we're going to buy all our Tesla stuff with Bitcoin. I mean, I don't even know. I didn't read his announcement when they bought a bunch of Bitcoin. I don't know what his reasoning was for it.
Shit ton of money on that.
They made a ton of money, sure. So they probably just had like more, and that should worry you too, right? The fact that like a single company can vastly influence the price of something is really concerning. I mean, from like an inflation and deflation standpoint, if you're thinking I can grab this coin and be like relatively confident I can buy stuff with it, like it can go up a ton in value and down of value. And ultimately, the currency is only worth anything if you can get stuff with it. So, yeah, I mean, we've talked about why I don't think you can use Bitcoin in every transaction. And I think that'll ultimately drive down the appeal of its adoption. And then the fact that individual actors can really influence the price over it, because it's basically a meme stock, is that's concerning as well.
So I have a friend, I won't name any names, who created a cryptocurrency at one point. It was in a beta stage. I don't believe he ever made it public. I think he made it public. It was Pickle Coin. That's what it's called. It's called
that's a good name.
Pickle Coin. I think it's actually pretty good, and I think he should make it live. And it's only as good as, like, if he tells me what it's worth, I'm just going to be like, yeah, that's exactly what it's worth. It's probably worth. It's probably tied to the price of pickles, honestly.
Right. Sure. I mean, whatever you want it to be. If you started buying a bunch of pickle coin and other people saw, hey, I can buy this pickle coin and then I can turn around and sell it. Like, that's how you get it. It's just like any market. It doesn't really matter what the medium is with which you're exchanging goods. If it's the pickle coin, if it's physical pickles, whatever it is, right? So
that's all right. I have two more questions real quick. I kind of want to understand exactly what, I'm going to say it wrong. Cryptography is.
Sure.
Is that it? Did I nail it?
Yeah. So the study of cryptography is, it's complicated. It's very theoretical.
All right, hold on.
There's not a lot. Go ahead.
If you literally have a course description on your college website, there's no way that it's more than 3 sentences.
Here, let's pull it up. I can tell you exactly how they list it. So we'll do University of California, Riverside. That's my institution. Advanced.
Yeah, we'll just blur that out. That's fine.
We probably won't.
No, probably not. Cryptography.
All right, let's see. So this is the course description.
Got it.
Covers formal models of security and application, including public key encryption, digital signatures, and secure protocols.
Got it.
This
and
is
obviously
advanced?
This is advanced cryptography.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I maybe am interested in basic intro to cryptography.
Sure. Yeah. So the issue with cryptography in general. So why does cryptography work? And what is the purpose of cryptography? The big reason why it was why the field has really exploded since the 80s is obviously with the advance of the internet. So people wanted a way to communicate on the internet, and they needed a way to do it where they weren't face to face. That's the way most, if you think about it, like, how am I really secure any message that I send is being like received by a trusted party? There's not some adversary listening in. If I can do it face to face, I know. Or the whole idea behind keys is that, like, you have a key, I have a key, it unlocks the same thing. And if someone doesn't have the key, they can't get that shared message. And again, without these fancy algorithms and stuff, like, the only way to do that is, like, I take my treasure chest in person with its one lock. I give Justin a key. I give myself a key. And then I physically give the box to him with whatever message I put in there. I know he's the only one who can unlock it. He reads whatever he wants. He puts something back in there. He gives the box back to me, and back and forth we go. So we needed a way to have that kind of communication on the web in a way in which we knew was secure. And so a lot of these models of security have been developed, and basically they're based on relatively complicated mathematical concepts that there are problems in math that are very difficult to solve. We basically don't know a way of doing it efficiently. And when something can't be done efficiently, that means a computer can only be used, because that's the way of attack, right? Like, what are computers? They're processing machines. So if we don't have a way to do something efficiently, that means all the computer can do is, like, brute force whatever attack method it wants. There's no, like, easy way to break this scheme. And so the way the study of cryptography basically mathematically proves why these things are secure. And it's very interesting, right? So you can say, I have this particular scheme. I use it to encode a message, to decode a message, to send messages, all kinds of things. It's based on some kind of mathematical primitive, like number theory. There's all kinds of stuff with prime numbers, for example, like factoring prime numbers is a very difficult mathematical problem, for example. There's a lot of cryptographic primitives that are implemented just based on prime number theory concepts. And basically, you can prove mathematically that it is almost statistically impossible for you to break whatever the scheme is because we have no efficient way of solving this particular problem. And so the only thing you could do is randomly guess. And just like picking lotto tickets, I can randomly pick 20,000 lotto tickets. But if my probability of winning the lottery is 1 in 200 million, the fact that I am randomly guessing 20,000 times is negligible. That's the whole idea behind it. In an advanced cryptography course, we basically just go really, really deep into what the mathematical underpinnings are and why it works and how to prove it. I would guess in like an introductory course, you'd probably just cover some core concepts and maybe not go so deep into the math. But yeah, I mean, it's a mathematical field, so there's really no escaping that.
So, but all right, okay. This is going to be super, super stupid. I'm just so sorry in advance, but it is what it is. Is the real reason why it's called cryptocurrency because the mining of these coins is essentially straight out of the cryptography field? I mean, the theory behind mining for them is trying to mine, to cycle through all of these codes and not essentially break it, but solve for it, right? Is that the genesis of where the name may come from, or is that too simple?
No, probably. I mean, so in cryptography, there's things called primitives. We prove that they work. We prove that they're secure. You can think of them as building blocks. Basically, what you do is you build a little Jenga tower of all these different primitives. And when they all work together, they do something. So a cryptocurrency is based on all these different cryptographic primitives. And the field of cryptography is very old, right? I mean, there's been human beings creating ciphers and encoding and decoding messages.
I've seen the Da Vinci Code.
There's been people.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. So, so I mean, cryptocurrencies are based on all these different building blocks, and so which belong to the field of cryptography. So my guess is, yeah, I mean, that's exactly why. So, for example, if we go back to the Bitcoin example, why is the blockchain secure? Well, it implements this hashing function. Well, what is a hashing function? A hashing function is a few different cryptographic primitives that work together, one of which is a one-way function. What's a one-way function? Well, it's a mathematical transformation that's very easy to compute, very difficult to invert. Meaning, like, for example, if you multiply some number by 2, how do you invert it? You just divide by 2, right? It's really easy. If I have some number x, I let x equal 2. If I multiply by 2, it's 4. If I divide by 2, I get 2 back. So I get the value of x. That was really easy. There's a study of mathematical functions that you apply to this value x that create some random input, or that create an output that's technically deterministic, meaning you use this function and it created an output. And every time you apply that function, you'll get that same output. But for anybody looking at that random output, it's almost impossible for them to guess what function you used to create it. So all they can do, randomly try to guess. That's basically the idea behind a lot of these. But yeah, I mean, a hash function, which is technically a cryptographic primitive, is based on all these other concepts in cryptography. And we kind of all agree in the field when we say I don't study it, but the people in the field, they've done a lot of proofs, and they basically show like this very, very tiny block. It works. We use that to build something else and build something else and build something else. And eventually you can make a cryptocurrency. So,
all right. I have 2 last questions before we wrap up, because we could do this forever. One, I hope somebody gets something out of this that piques their interest, and then they look into it further. Because technically speaking, like, you should know what you're investing in if you trade stocks, right? Whether it's the company or you're doing it because of the charting pattern. I feel like not enough of us really know much about crypto to say, like, why am I putting all of my life savings into Ethereum, right? Like,
Sure.
The answer is because it's a groundswell and everyone else is doing it. But do you truly know? And it used to be, this is my question, it used to be that these cryptocurrencies were the basis and the funding mechanisms to then fund additional projects on the blockchain, right? Whether it was building parts of the blockchain or blocks on the blockchain, or it was different pieces of software or products or programs that may live on the block, but they were all funding products. Now I feel like it's just a matter of, it's a currency, you assign a value to it, it's worth what someone else says it's worth. It's like true barter, and it's just the genesis of supply and demand. Do you know, Ford, if people still are looking at it in terms of it's a coin that we generated to fund our blockchain projects, or is it just screw it, it's a currency?
As far as these cryptocurrencies go, there's many different implementations of blockchain. Blockchain is just an idea. It's like it's a thing, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. So the blockchain that's powering Bitcoin is one particular implementation of the blockchain concept. It uses its own set of protocols, its own mining mechanisms. There's like lots of things that go into it. There's other cryptocurrencies that are based on very different blockchains. They have a completely different technology stack. The way in which they operate is totally different. The protocols that they use are totally different. What makes them secure is totally different. So for folks who are just curious, like what makes these things different, the first thing you kind of need to look at is what is the technology underpinnings that are like enabling this, like, you know, what is the platform they're on that's different. There's been consolidation in blockchain as far as I know. And again, this is like not my field of research, and I'm not planning on staying in academia. So I don't know a ton about these things. People research, there's like a whole area of research. But I know now that blockchains have been commoditized to a certain point. For example, like there's a blockchain at AWS. Like I work for Amazon right now as a software engineer. Sorry. Yeah, shameless plug. Yeah. The reason why I bring that up is that all these different big tech companies have implementations of blockchain that are publicly available. You can build applications on top of them, one of which is digital currencies. So I know there's a lot of digital currencies that use the Ethereum blockchain. They just are kind of made or implemented differently. So for example, Bitcoin has there's this finite amount of Bitcoin that's ever going to be produced. And that's like one way to make sure that the price is like kind of set. Cause like right now with the US dollar, you can print dollars in infinitum. That's like what's kind of cool about the Bitcoin, right? Is like, oh, well, there's only ever going to be a finite amount. So the supply is going to be constrained. I think other cryptocurrencies have, you know, different implementations around that. Maybe they're only going to print coins for 3 years, for 20 years, for 5 years, that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, that's like definitely one thing. And then as far as companies using their coin offerings to fund their research, that's a great point. So the blockchain is really not only meant to be a decentralized monetary solution so that people can buy stuff. The blockchain solves a lot of other issues theoretically. So I'm sure, I mean, smart contracts is like a super hot button topic, not hot button, but like a super hot topic. All that really means is that you can list your contract on a blockchain and you now don't need a lawyer to review it, right? So if I want to go buy a house, I can list my purchase agreement on some blockchain and I don't need some middleman to say, yep, he signed it. And, you know, whoever to say, yep, he signed it. Like it's all right there. I sign it. They sign it. Boom. Public knowledge. So, yeah, I mean, as far as these other companies that have coin offerings and we're using the coin offerings to fund their technology, it would be interesting to look and see what it is they're trying to build, because there are companies in the space. I have a good friend actually who's been working in crypto for a while. And there's companies who are building like cool applications on top of the technology. So you just kind of have to see. It's just like if you were investigating any company, you just kind of want to see like what it is they're trying to do. And then do you as an investor believe in their vision, right? Do you think they have value? Do you think they're going to go somewhere? Because ultimately that's all anybody's doing, right? I mean, you buy Apple because they've been in business for a while and they make good products, and you tend to believe like, yeah, they're going to do a while. But if some Apple competitor came up, their stock got listed for $1, you might read about the company and say, no, what they're doing is super cool. I'm going to buy their stock because I think they're going somewhere. It's the same thing with the cryptocurrencies. So
we got to wrap up, but I have one last question, just a quick answer. So you mentioned the reasons why you don't like Bitcoin or you're not a believer in it, but objectively, do you feel like it's a freight train no matter what, and it will find adoption in some way, and you may choose to not want to be a part of it, but it's going to happen?
It's a good question. I mean, there's smart people who believe in it, and they believe in it for a reason. So just like anything, I have my own set of beliefs, and I can absolutely have my mind changed. I believe that about almost anything, right? I mean, I'll listen to any well-formed argument. And as I said, I mean, I'm by no means an expert in this, so I could definitely have my mind talked around to something else. I mean, I have a little bit of technical knowledge in this space just based on my academic background. But again, that doesn't like make me some know-it-all or some arbiter about this. So the fact that really, really intelligent people are plowing their businesses and their money into it, maybe there's something to that. I really can't say. I mean, I haven't, we kind of mentioned Elon Musk. There's others like him who are betting on this to a certain extent. The reason why they're doing that, I don't know, but I'm sure they've talked about it, and it would be interesting to listen more about it. So yeah, I mean, at least for the time being, it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. Will it continue to rise in value and reach $1 million a coin like some people think? I mean, no one knows, but
Yeah.
It definitely could.
I think really rich people have the same gambling addictions we do, and this is their casino.
This is the way they do it. Yeah. Well, you can only get so many chips at the casino, and you can buy a lot of Bitcoin at once.
No joke. Blaine, you want to bring us home?
Ford, thank you for your time and knowledge. And I certainly learned a lot. I do think I'm kind of more clear on Bitcoin than I was prior to this conversation. So thank you.
You're welcome. As I said, for the listeners who want to fact check me and yell at me for being stupid because I was wrong about stuff, power to you. I took this course in advanced cryptography like 9 or 10 months ago, so I probably misspoke about a lot of things I was speaking about.
We'll let you know.
For sure. But I would, I would definitely encourage people to read up a little bit more about it. I haven't gone to the Wikipedia page for blockchain. Wikipedia can be a little technical, but in general, they try to be like a little bit more reasonable as far as like the layperson just reading through the stuff and trying to understand. So there's definitely no reason for folks to go down the rabbit hole. But if you're interested about it, definitely start there. And then the original white paper that actually brought about like the whole blockchain implementation, I believe that was written by the Japanese guy, or they don't even know if it was an individual, Satoshi Natomi or something like that. Yeah, I've read that paper. It's pretty cool. It's super interesting. I actually don't think it's that hard to understand. It's like, I definitely think again, there's like some mathy technical stuff in there that might be over some people's head, but in general, like his argument is pretty reasonable. And like, oh, I get why that could work. That's cool. That's another one to read if you're interested about it.
Yeah, if you want to be a crypto investor, you should probably have that baseline paper. Huh?
I have.
Yeah, I mean, you should know how it works. You should know why it works. But
I have a question not related to Bitcoin. But you said you're getting out of academia.
Okay.
But have you considered being a professor? Because it seems like you could be. You sound like a professor.
Well, thank you. I mean, I like learning stuff, right? So I get passionate about topics. I mean, that's why people, go to grad school, right? To expand their mind and to challenge themselves. So yeah, I absolutely love the challenge. I mean, maybe way further on down the road, it's something I would consider. Not for this podcast discussion, but I'm not a particular believer in the current setup of the academic system in America. I think there's a lot wrong with it. And I've kind of seen that firsthand as a graduate student. So, as like, I guess, like a fuck you to the man in an attempt to fight the system, I will not become a part of it. But I will say, I mean, they're always looking to get PhD students and kind of keep people in the ecosystem, which is kind of big brother-ish and scary in and of itself. So for me, I need to get out because I need my sanity and independence. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe if things change and the whole ecosystem looks a little bit different, I'd consider it. Maybe a high school professor. How about that? Or high school teacher.
Perfect.
Different ball game.
Perfect.
One of the things we found out from this podcast is that in theory, Ford should have his own podcast, but the problem is that he's a walking lawsuit. So what comes out of his mouth could generate quite a bit of arbitration.
In what way? What did I do to incriminate myself?
Maybe not this one. No, but in general, yeah.
If I get talking on something,
correct.
Yeah, well, I got to do more of these podcasts so I can kind of learn. But but anything else you guys want to talk about? As I said, we can talk about any nerdy tech thing you guys want. I know a very little bit about a lot of stuff and almost nothing in depth. So this is the perfect place for me to come talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and now you have a microphone, so you'll have to come back.
And now I have a microphone.
Yep.
That's right. Hope the audio quality was okay.
It sounds amazing. You sound like Justin quality. All right, Ford, thank you.
Thanks, man.
All right, we'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good.
Bye.
Great to see you guys. Bye.
Thank you to Joel Edwards, our producer, and Chesley Lowe for the banjo music. We'll see you next time.